If your assessment interaction can take a variety of directions, use different texts, and there are not specific criteria or guidelines about how to interpret or report student performance, then the reliability is weaker. Here's a question someone posed about an assessment and predictive validity. I would assume that an assessment such as this one would be helpful in predicting the ability to automatically recognize words. I think it might have been the SDQA. And with this skill, assisting a child's ability to read fluently. If I'm understanding McKenna and Stahl correctly, on page 39, high-frequency words are a constrained skill. And they advise caution and use in data analysis with constrained skills. Constrained skills are things that you can sort of get to the end of. So if we are defining high frequency words as the ability to automatically identify, say, all the words on the Dolch list, that is constrained. Whereas our ability to think critically about a text hopefully continues to grow across our lifespan. As far as predictive validity, that's something, again, that's the responsibility of the test publisher. So they're saying kids who scored at a certain level on this test when they were second graders, when they were sixth graders, tended to have, related scores. So those who scored strong in second grade were also strong in sixth grade, weak in second grade, weak in sixth grade. So the publisher gathers that data and uses it to make a claim that, like, this is an assessment that tells you something worth knowing. So this was from Amy, and I thought it was really useful. She was talking about DIBELS. She says, not just in the context of this assignment, but in my professional practice in general, I've lived and breathed DIBELS for over 10 years, and my hunch is to say to identify it as having a high level of reliability and validity. However, with my new learning from this week's readings, I'm now thinking that it has a higher predictive validity, yes, particularly for younger grades, and a weaker content and construct validity. I would say that it has a stronger reliability as long as it is administered correctly, but that would be said about any assessment, I believe. Yeah. So reliability is definitely a strength. DIBELS is, the ORF is a strong predictor of later reading achievement, particularly DIBELS scores from the primary grades. As you get up into the upper grades, vocabulary knowledge becomes a more important predictor of reading achievement than does oral reading fluency. Let's see. A note about Scholastic Reading Inventory, which is the one that Anne was posting about. That Measure for Measure chapter, or like sort of booklet that we read the first 10 pages a couple weeks ago, and there's actually an analysis of that Scholastic Reading Inventory, which is the tool that's associated with Read 180, that's in that book. So it's worth checking it out and checking out the other tools that are in there. Some are summative and some are more diagnostic, and then some are hybrids. Let's see. This is a comment about the BAS and DIBELS. BAS is the Fountas and Pinnell benchmark assessment system. And this person, I think Leah, I don't remember. I'm sorry. I should have written it down. Says, hi, Amy. That's super interesting that in their building, they're pushing the words correct, meaning like words correct per minute score. We just moved to using the benchmark assessment system along with DIBELS in my building this year, and we are not scoring the benchmark assessment system for words correct per minute at this point in time, just for accuracy and comprehension. I used to have kiddos who were super close to meeting the words correct benchmark on the developmental reading assessment, DRA, and we were passing the accuracy and they were passing the accuracy and comprehension part with no problem. But the classroom teacher wouldn't want them to move up to the next level because their words correct per minute was too slow. I always felt that if they were reading accurately and comprehending what they were reading, that the words correct per minute piece was probably not quite as important, and that we shouldn't hold them back from the next level. I'm curious what others think about that. Such a good question. So I'm going to weigh in here. First and foremost, the name of the game is comprehension, right? That's what we're after. And if what we're doing in our assessment or in our teaching or in the messages we're giving students in either of those contexts is steering them away from a focus on meaning making, we need to revise what we're doing. So when we hammer them with these words correct per minute ORF type assessments and really highlight that that's what's valued, it really skews their experience of literacy and their whole understanding of the enterprise, right? So we don't want to do that. That said, if we have a student who comprehends well, but takes like an inordinate amount of time to do that, whether they're really struggling to say the words accurately, or there are kids who can comprehend without actually saying the words very accurately, either through lots of self-correction or just a lot of inference. It is possible that there might be something like dyslexia going on. We don't just jump to that conclusion. It's not nearly as common as some might like to assert. Every child that has a reading difficulty, not every child that has a reading difficulty has dyslexia. However, some children do, and that's particularly an issue that's going to affect phonological awareness and decoding. And in that sense, if they're really struggling to do those things, then they might demonstrate this like issue with words correct per minute. So I'd say like have your antenna up for it. Notice, especially if there's a real discrepancy between the meaning they can make and their rate, basically, and particularly with like listening comprehension versus what happens when they have to struggle through the passage themselves. Obviously, listening comprehension is always going to be a bit higher, but you can still attend to that potential discrepancy. And, that might mean that you want to do some more follow-up assessment around phonological awareness and something like nonsense words that helps you figure out like what is making this situation tick. And that's a place where your cognitive model can be really useful. Okay, I'm going to go through next and look at all of your notes from your tutoring, your videos. I'm jazzed to do that. And I'm going to give you some kind of probably video or something, interpretive dance in response. I really appreciate your patience with my feedback. It's been a rough term and year, but I'm here for you to the degree that I'm able to be. So I hope this is helpful. I'm sorry it was long. That's just how it goes sometimes. Okay, thanks everybody.